I want to get maybe an overview of what we spoke about last week. And is Rainier on?
We have not heard her come on, just George.
Okay.
She's got peeps in town, so she might not.
Okay, okay. Did she speak with you concerning her vision?
Her what?
Her vision.
Which one?
The one concerning the group who kept coming back at different times. And trying to make things right for
Yes.
humanity.
Yes.
Okay, I hope you remember it.
I don't remember it.
Well, I'll help you with it.
Y'all remember which time?
This is not the Domino Man, is it?
Yes. Yes. That's
The Sugar Domino Man?
I think it's very important.
And the reason I say that is because Rainier calls at Rainier's leisure, which is on her way driving.
I know.
And if I'm doing something and the boys are in the background, I don't always catch it.
Right.
But I just, yeah.
She calls me at her leave, and then when I do, I return her call when I'm on my way in at night, because then it's early for her. It works. Yeah. But I want to, I think it's important to address it because I've had more than one person with whom I have spoken who's had a vision similar to that this week. So.
Is Arthur coming today?
Not sure.
So, I know she shared it with Audrey.
She did.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, go ahead and give us a synopsis from last week, Barbara Jean.
I don't have it. I don't know what the heck we talked about last week, and I usually do.
I know.
Isn't that something?
That is. Oh, well, we're not supposed to deal with it. Now, this is what I want to talk about.
I think you revisited a little bit about melatonin, but you didn't do a lot.
I know, yeah, but, and I also know that, I think I talked about how dangerous Christianity,
Christmas.
Islam,
We need to emotionally
detach every week before
detach
last.
from.
But the last
Okay,
week, I
okay.
think I talked about Christianity, the science and the math of melanin. Okay,
The myth.
gotcha. The myth of melanin, dispelling the rumors, exposing the facts. Gotcha. Okay, that's the book. Is that okay? We got to get your voice soon, because melanin. I think I made a statement last week that melanin influences. Yeah, there's Audrey now. Melanin influences all physical and mental activities. Without melanin, there are no physical or mental activities. And it is my belief that melanin is a physical manifestation of life, and that's one of the reasons it cannot be explained, or manipulated, or controlled. Do you agree with that, Nick? Just bow your head. There you go.
Is melanin in everything that has life, that's
Everything.
living then?
Everything that has life, yes. All cells are covered with melanin. All genes. All genes are covered with melanin.
Wow.
Yes. And melanin is indicative of beginning in its own way. And that's something that I'll hope to discuss as soon as we can get Nick up, so he can inject into the conversation. But prior to that, I want to look at the idea of our being the possessors of
Yes.
melanin. We're in this earth, a group of teachers, how we're in this earth to bring benefit to mankind. And the memory bank just walked in. You are the server. When you put information on the server that we need
Information.
concerning the vision that she had,
Domino Man.
the domino thing.
The son said,
Oh, hey.
He can hear us, but we can't hear him yet.
Oh, yeah.
Did you get Janice?
She's out there.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm sorry,
Oh,
that
wasn't
was
her?
Nick's, yeah, that was,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
she didn't respond. She haven't responded back yet. Apparently she's in room Oakland.
Good.
What?
What ring you said?
Oh, the dream.
Yeah.
I know. Okay.
Let me say this, let me print it by saying it to you, I've already said to the rest of them, that, there were several people who called me this week who had the, who had the same,
Oh, like sitting in Bessie's seat.
okay, who had the same, vision.
Really?
Yeah, not exact the same, but with the same connotations, I should say. Go ahead.
Well, she said that she had this dream about people. Anyway, people going back to the past and going way into the future. And there was something they were supposed to do to either prevent a great calamity or keep the calamity from
It's for the benefit of mankind.
engulfing all of mankind. So basically, they were helping to save humanity.
And each time they went back, they fixed a little something and
Yeah.
got closer and closer to whatever they were trying to do each time they went back.
And then she said they went way into the future, and then they were on this
What looked like the spaceship or stadium.
spaceship. Yeah. And she said she thought there were two spaceships, and somehow they merged. And
There was an explosion, like volcanic explosion, like
yeah,
it emerged
something like that.
on the way to Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jupiter was.
Yeah.
On the way to Jupiter. See? I don't remember it all. But anyway, she was just asking me my take on that.
Oh, don't forget
The domino.
the domino ring. Everybody died except one.
Yeah,
Or disappeared. She didn't say died. They were gone. There's only one
yeah.
left.
Everybody sort of, disappeared, vanished. And there was only one left. And she said it was a man, but it didn't look like a man. It looked like a domino piece.
Now, my question to her when she said that was this, because that was the end of it, the domino piece. How many, a domino is black and white with white dots. How many white dots were there? And she said there were no white dots. The piece was brown. And what did not dawn on me at the moment was, how did she know it was a domino if it was brown? And that's one of the questions I wanted to raise. The other thing was, what clicked with me, what is it, Richard? What clicked with me was this, that it was more about purification and balance. The fire, the explosion of purification, the idea that Jupiter is supposed to be the king of the god, the planet that represents king of the gods, and that's where it was on its way to, and the idea that they were doing things with their minds instead of with, with material objects, and the idea of the domino being brown after the explosion, only one left, and no numbers there. No, there was not a number of dots, which represented all had become one, and black and white makes gray, but Caucasian and African makes brown. So it's a balance there, and in the earth coming from that, what appeared to be an explosion, which was actually a rebirth, because when we think about the birth of the universe, we think about the explosion that took place. So it's talking about more of a rebirth. And there was something I saw on one of the, I think, science channels about they had captured through one of the telescopes the merging of a universe last week.
Oh, yeah.
The galaxy, I'm sorry, the merging
It
of
was the universe.
the universe, the merging of the universe last week. So that was on the heels of what Rainier had talked about. Plus, this lady called me and she was talking to me about, she had a vision of, there were two buses and she was on one of them, and there were people, the people were supposed to get on the other one, but they got on hers. And as they rode along, she said that there appeared to be some type of an explosion, and they were in this place. And when they got to this place, she said that there was a bright light. And then she noticed that all the people were no longer there. She sensed that there was just one person there. And the one person there, she felt that that person had brought order to everything that is. And that person who was there, it was not really a person, but how she experienced it as feminine energy. And she said that she saw these two females who were together, but it was not a sexual thing. It was them merging as one, and she recognized it as the two worlds becoming one, a balance between the material world and the spiritual world. And I immediately saw that with this merger, out of it comes balance, because nothing comes into play without a womb. Nothing is birthed without a womb. So now keep in mind that the lady who called me with this comes from a traditional church.
Comes from where?
A traditional head-on church. Ain't all right church. Yeah.
Well, we talked, Rainey and I talked about the, the St. Mary Magdalene, this book, and how this book describes how there's a Christ,
Oh yeah, I have that.
a Mary Magdalene and a Christ archetype in every generation that works towards saving humanity.
You want to see it?
No, I forget it. We're married, live in the same house.
Yeah.
Who knows
He
if
gave
the
it
other
to me.
Okay.
You're the one who gave it to me.
one- Yeah,
Okay.
well, I didn't know you talked to Rainier anyway, I think.
Oh,
Anyway, so there's an archetype for every generation. So when she told me there were people like going back to save humanity, that's the first thing I thought about.
so, and I think that is important. Magdala, Mary is Miriam in the Hebrew. And to think about what happened with Miriam, the sister of Moses, and here we are with Mary Magdala, because that's exactly what it means. In every generation, and in a quote-unquote Christ in every generation, we're talking more about the essence of the power, or the presence of the power, more so than we are about a person.
Yeah,
Yeah, because when we talk about a person, it gives individuality, but when we speak concerning the essence of those who embodied that, then we're talking about a presence of a spiritual power that has the opportunity, and I don't say ability purposely, because it's an opportunity to bring balance to humanity, but for some reason it didn't do it. And one of the things that she said also was that every time that they left, it was because they died from some type of cataclysmic event. So the cataclysmic event that I'm thinking about was not just what some termed as the end of man and the resurgence of it, because there's never the end of man. No, she's not. I'm thinking that it also speaks to a cataclysmic event that we see now is religion. Because it does kill. And we are at a place where we have chosen to rise above it, to go beyond it, and not to submit to it. And that the only way it can kill or can bring to an end is that you allow it to. Because there's no power any place that's more powerful than the essence of our being. And when I say the essence of our being, I'm not talking about human beings. I'm talking about the spiritual essence of us, the Elohim. That's what I'm talking about. There's no power any place that's greater than that. So with what she explained, it was more of growing each generation or each time period, growing more aware of who we are. And Nick, if there's a question or something you want to raise, a statement, since we can't hear you, just write it, okay? This is more of a state of our essence, being able to rise above what has been projected to be something spiritual. See, we are told constantly that you can manipulate the scriptures to mean whatever you want them to mean, but you can't. You can manipulate them and say what you want to say about them, but you don't change the meaning. Right. And that has been one of the things I think that we have risen above, and we are in a place now where opportunity presents itself for us to avoid this cataclysmic event. And it is my contention that the cataclysmic event has already been introduced to us. The question is, what are we going to do about it? And it has been introduced to us by way of climate change. The pending cataclysmic event, it's climate change. So what are we going to do about it? Are we going to allow another calamitous thing to take place, or are we going to change it? Are we going to intervene and bring balance to not the weather, but to the climate, to bring it back to balance? What that plays also into the idea that the whole of nature or the earth is groaning for our redemption for us to become aware of who we are and act like we know who we are. It's not enough to believe. You got to know. We have gone beyond. I think the thing that probably kept us having to come back is that we had faith in what we were doing. We didn't know what we were doing. And without having faith in what we were doing, we could never learn. So we would never know without that faith. So faith is just a step in the process. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're at a point now where we know what we are doing. And by virtue of knowing what we are doing, we are able to bring about change in a more effective manner than we ever have been. Any questions about that? Yeah.
I don't watch Star Wars. I never delve into it. But has that guy written, or is he writing or has written what we're doing?
Hollywood always write what we're doing before we do it.
Okay, because he's got this main guy as a African American, and from the little bit what I did see, it's like he's on point with what's going on.
Yeah, and see, in order to keep us off track, in order to distract us, there has been a major resurgence in racism.
Yes.
A huge resurgence in racism.
Yes.
And that has always been strong enough to create a distraction great enough to move our vision from the spiritual to the legislative part, the political part of it. So, having risen beyond that, we're better positioned to be able to bring balance before this calamitous thing take place. Because if you read Isaiah 45, 6, and 7, it says that basically I cause calamities and I bring order. So why would you create darkness, form light, and bring about calamity and bring about it's not, the word's not order, it's another word that's used there, but that's basically what it's saying. Why would you do that? Why would Yahweh do that? Because it doesn't say God, it says I, the Lord, I, Yahweh. Why would Yahweh do that? In order to keep us on point, in order to keep us moving in the right direction, in order to bring us back to our quote unquote senses.
She's out there.
Okay, you understand?
Yes.
So, are there any questions?
Janice is on the way.
Okay.
There was something else that Rena said about looking up what dominoes meant too, and I can't remember.
Yeah, I think I may have that. She said,
I mean, I got something in here, but it may not relate to anything she said. That's her.
okay. I was thinking that she had sent a text to that effect.
Oh no, I just oops.
I don't know whether she sent it via text or she sent it through email. Can't remember, but she sent something.
Yes, she should write it down.
With no pain.
Things she said.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah. We're in foundation, and we're talking about dominoes. Remember what you said dominoes meant?
From the Latin dominus, which means ruler.
Ruler.
Okay.
It's also a cape worn by a priest or something.
Yeah, hood or something.
Is that Darth Vader's
From
face?
the Latin word ruler.
Okay, sorry, I woke you.
Yeah, that's okay.
Any other questions for clarification?
What was the second part?
I was just seeing if there was any other question about something you dreamed before you go.
Oh, Lord and Master.
Lord Master.
Yes.
I just said what she said, the second part.
What was his name again, Sage?
Domino come from the Latin means Lord and Master.
Priest wore.
Priest, warrior.
A priest, a hood that a priest wore is a
Oh, okay,
part of it.
okay,
A hooded cape, yeah, that a priest wears.
Royal priest.
okay. So it's the covering for the priest.
Okay. Thank
I
you.
was telling them before we got back in here, well, before y'all come,
Mhm.
that I was watching a series about the Borgias, which were a Catholic Church, this Pope,
Mhm.
and the more I watch it, the more I see why the world is in the shape that it's in. And then I was looking at all the symbols and stuff, and you guys mentioned the hood. And what does it mean again? The hood?
The hood is just the covering that the priest wore.
But, okay,
I honestly see robes and those capes as symbols to say that I'm to be reverenced. I'm to be single. I'm to be honored. I'm to be treated differently than other people are. The collar,
okay.
the garb. It's really a uniform to denote a difference in my status in relationship to yours, that kind of thing.
Okay,
I see it more as that than anything else.
gotcha.
I hear what you say concerning the Catholicism and realizing that that Christianity is more dangerous than a nuclear bomb. And so is Islam and Judaism. They are the most dangerous organizations on earth because they rob men mankind of its sense of free will.
Well, all of them in the bed together, they were in the bed together,
Yeah.
you know?
And more importantly is that it's almost like having something for you regardless of what you believe. But it robs mankind of its sense of free will because it presents the idea of I tell you what to do. The Pope has the authority to change what they believe. For example, the Pope can say tomorrow that it's okay to take birth control or to have an abortion, and it's okay. You see, that kind of thing. So that robs you of your free will. And rather than allow people to have free will, they would rather them die. And I say that because when you look at the push, the reason abortions really became legal in this country is because middle-class white women were dying from botched abortions. And when it reached a epidemic proportion, that is when abortion became legal in this country. And the illegal, and right now, they are making an attempt to make it illegal, but it will only be illegal for those who can't afford it. Because when I grew up, you know how you kids, you hear everything. There were doctors in Union who were doing abortions all the time. But there were when doctors had their little black bag going to people's houses. But they were doing them all the time. But also there were those who were doing it with clothes hangers and Clorox and all other kind of stuff. And they were dying from infections. So that's one of the major reasons it became legal to do it. Now, one of the other things I want to say about legality. Legality in Christianity, Islam, or Judaism, and legal systems are the same animal. They are the same monster. And they have merged to the extent that we know that they're separate, but we don't separate them in our mind. For example, when we do a marriage, right? We say, what God has put together, let no man set asunder, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we also say, more importantly than that, by the power invested in me by the state of South Carolina, I pronounce you man and wife. We don't talk about being Christian married, we talk about being legally married. You see what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about being spiritually married, we talk about being legally married.
Mm-hmm.
And so these two systems are actually one and the same, or just are two sides of the same coin. And when we talk about the legality of it, those things that are legal points to ownership. You have a legal document saying you own your house, your car, right?
Yeah.
Legal documents give you possession. And that is one of the reasons there is a sense of ownership with marriage. And most of it lies with the male. Because it is a male-dominated, manipulated society. I own you, therefore I can do what I choose, but not you. That's one of the reasons. If you look in the concordance with the Hebrew concerning adultery, it says only a woman, because men wrote it. You see what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to understand that the difference between the religions and the legal systems is semantics. That's all. But in terms of actions, there is no difference. If there was a difference, you would have a less sense of ownership, but more of a sense of community. Everything belongs to all of us. When we grew up, the sharing that took place in the community. Someone could come and get a cup of sugar. Someone could chastise your child. Someone sick in the community, you would wash their clothes, iron their clothes, and no one even talked about charging you for those kind of things. Someone in the community had a car. If you needed to go someplace, they took you there. You see what I'm talking about? We lived in a sharing community. We did not live in I own this community. When I was a boy next door to the house that I grew up in, there was another house that we owned, but I didn't know that until I got older. They were actually renting the house. But I didn't know that until I got older. I thought they owned the house until they moved. And when they moved, they moved to build a house. But when I'm told that when my grandmama found out that they were trying to build a house, she stopped taking rent from them so that they could have that extra money to put into that property. That's not going to happen now. If anything, increase it so make it so you can't build one, so you have to stay there. So legality. But when we were brought into the quote unquote system, when we were integrated into the system, everything became legal as opposed to spiritual community connections. Got it? So anyway, that's an example of what I'm saying when I say that these systems are one. There's no difference in them. Any questions about that? Okay, I was looking for that verse I had referenced. It says that from verse 6, it's Isaiah 45, that they may know from the rising of the sun and from the west that there is none beside me. I am the Lord, and there is none else. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. So if that's the case, which it states it is, then there has to be purpose for it. And when you think about peace or balance or evil or unrightness, everything that Rainier described was a group of people who recognized that humanity was unright and was doing everything they could to bring humanity to a place of rightness, which results in peace. And at the end of that, what she saw was the rightness taking place. But it took place with an eruption, with a volcanic type eruption. She did not say volcanic type eruption, if I'm correct in my statement. I think I am. So.
Yeah, that's what I said, Pastor.
Okay, thank you. Now you're here.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
But I called it.
So that speaks to me. It speaks to the times that we are in. I do not believe that Rainier or the other lady or the other people with whom I spoke during the course of the week, I do not believe that these were visions for the future. They are visions of the present. And I think they came because we began talking about we are not on the precipice of change. We are changing. We're in the midst of it. We are doing this thing. And now I believe that we are in a place where the rightness is being experienced. And for this reason, I do not believe that this year will move with the rapidity of last year. This year is going to be slower than last year. And the reason I believe that is because we are going to have to be still long enough to experience the changes so that we can pass them to the next generation. It's going to have to be slow enough, not for us to see the changes, but slow enough for others to see, people, for humanity to see the changes. You understand what I'm saying?
Last year, we saw changes occur as we spoke. So now you're saying, well, we saw evidence of
Evidence.
things occurring as we literally talked about it. So are you saying that for the purposes of those who need to see things,
Yes,
that it's going to slow down so that they can see it?
yes.
Because,
So they can realize it.
okay.
Good. You see, it's not enough for us to realize it. There are people who are truly seeking. They need to realize it. And when that begins to happen, then the lines of distinction between unrightness and rightness will be more definitive. That way, we can avoid, or we have less opportunity for people to cross the line of unrightness thinking that they're entering into a place of light. You see? And I believe that burden is on our shoulders to keep doing what we are doing in order for that to take place. Nick, speak so we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, we good. We good. Yeah, we are good.
Okay. Did you figure out what was the problem?
Yes.
Janice was missing.
We had the speakers on the wrong setting for Skype.
Oh, gotcha.
We got it.
Thanks.
She said we, did y'all hear that? We.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah, but we don't work individually, right? I was talking to someone this week about that. That all of us, every one of us needs a teacher. And the question was, but you are the teacher. No, I'm not. I'm a teacher. And the 13 total of us teach each other. I would not understand what I understand if it were not for when we come together as the facilitators and when we come together on Saturday and Sundays. The questions, the messages that are given based upon the questions that you're asking without even verbalizing. The sense that's received. So it is always a we as opposed to a me. And one of the examples I use is, and I use it often, Barbara Jean, is when Barbara told me to be quiet in Philadelphia. She had shushed me in Philadelphia.
I missed that.
I keep forgetting that, but obviously you keep remembering.
You must have stubborn.
And the reason I remember it, so I think I do because not only was I surprised, but I was elated by it. That we have the kind of relationship
Right.
where, you know, in the midst of all these people, you're like, shh, it wasn't no secret thing, you know.
Right.
But
You were getting ready to talk or something while I was finishing something or something.
I know I get ready to say something I hadn't no business saying because I get ready to address something that really ticked me
You were
off.
about to go off on
Yeah,
Oh.
Yeah. Because I think they said something
So
about
you're
black
like
women.
good.
yeah, something like, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you're about to get it.
Yeah, Michelle said he drew all like. And Barbara said, shh. But anyway, okay, Nick, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to agree, and I was going to say this year in particular is it seems to be like the convergence of a lot of different things in terms of how we're seeing the change actually happen. I don't think it's a coincidence that in this year the presidential election is in November. And there's just a lot of different things that I can see that are sort of coming together, indicating, that we not only are in the process of change, but that it's going to be a positive one. So you don't have to worry about that if you were worried. And I have other stuff I can say about some of the other things we talked about at the beginning, like melanin and things like that. But that's all I wanted to say on this particular thing.
What about the other stuff?
Tomorrow, one of the things that we are going to talk about is the idea that this year itself is the number 9. And how 9 is the rule of all planets, considered to be the number that rules all planets. And it is a number that's assertive, trusted, and generous, and can be selfish on the flip side of that, when it's unright or misunderstood. And that the number 9 is represents those who are philanthropic, who believe that they carry the burden for humanity and accepts the responsibility for it. So there's a lot in this number 9, and I believe that that this is one of the main reasons that we're going to be more active in what we do by virtue of teaching humanity. One of the things that George and I were talking about during the course of the week was the projects, the programs that he's working with there in Philly, which I am is the umbrella of. One of the things we were talking about is connecting the North and the South by virtue of bringing the teachers together to do quote-unquote mentoring for those people for his clients, 82 clients, and he's the only caseworker, and growing, of course, but for us to be a part of that so that they can see not us, but what we do. And I think when we look at what we're talking about this year, that this is a major portion of it. We've been able to establish a spiritual foundation without having to quote scripture, but at the same time, meeting the needs of a community. When one of the things we said, we don't care what they call it, mentoring program or spiritual, it doesn't matter what they call it, as long as the work gets done. And that's one of the things that we're going to be dealing with, and this in itself will give opportunity for the people to realize what's taking place. You remember how we talked about the changes that we saw in the community in Philly and in Camden when we went? We saw those changes, but the people see those changes. This is an opportunity. This year slows down for them to be able to realize these changes. And I don't think that is coincidental that we are there, for one thing. And I don't want to get into the historical origins of it, but I think we've discussed that before. What I want to look at now is what's there currently. I don't think it's coincidental that the one who is in charge of My Brother's Keeper program nationally is Nutter, and the current mayor of Philly, and that there is a direct link between George Hassan and Nutter. The energy is there. You see what I'm talking about? So the foundation has been laid many years ago for what's taking place now. And we're able to do it in a setting that does not allow for religious recruiting. Like, Christianity does it, and they're recruiting to fill their pews. You see what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
But you have to do it as a mentoring entity, which is a non-governmental and non-religious entity. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
But that's the best part, to be able
Absolutely.
to do it without the legalities associated with government on the one hand, and without the chains and bondage of religion on the other. They both
Legalistic.
and they both bind you.
Yes. So I think that in itself speaks volumes about where we are. Also, it is my contention that we will not be limited to just one area. When it's extremely difficult to talk about what we do, but it is also equally as powerful when you experience what we do. And it is extremely difficult to put on paper in terms of a program about what we do. But we can put on paper a mentoring program that they want to see and do what we do under the heading of that, because it's just no different. The whole idea of teaching of the scriptures is mentoring. Isn't it? It's mentoring mankind. That's what it's about. But we have taken it to a different place in terms of its meaning until we begin to do it or look at it, and you begin to see that the most powerful mentoring tools are based on the scriptures. Because they work. So, let me make a confession here. I am getting more comfortable with it, but I still experience discomfort when I talk about how dangerous Christianity is. And the discomfort comes from my upbringing. And I want to make that statement because I'm sure that I'm not the only one who have those kinds of, discomforting experiences. Probably out of the facilitators, only two don't. That's Nick and Janice. They're probably the only two who don't have those discomforting things when I say Christianity is dangerous. Because they were not,
I wanted to burn it all down a few years ago.
And that's one of the reasons the year is slowing down. Because at one point, we saw where it needed to go. And now we began to see that Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, all the isms are part of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. They are unripe. And it's up to us to ripen them, to bring them to a place of being ripe. You see a green plum on the tree, you don't throw it away. You wait till it ripens. So that's the same thing. They're on the tree, they're the green plum on the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And it's unripened at this point. And we can't be Cain and just do it our way because that's how we want to do it. We have to be able and do it the way it's supposed to be done so that we can bring Cain to a place of ripeness. And now we no longer see ourselves as Adam with a desire to separate from a womb, but we see ourselves as Elohim bringing order and balance to humanity.
And all of that is undermined and underlined by the thought that we are one. And so even when whatever ism I'm in is doing something that's totally apart from genuine love and that still is something that I should have empathy for.
Yes,
Because the desire is, if they're unright,
Right.
I want them to be one with me in rightness. Because I got some unrightness too.
right.
And if I got cut off just because of those areas of unrightness, that's being judgmental and giving up, and that's not the sense of what means to be one together,
And,
oneness.
and the whole idea of Elohim is, when I say that, I'm saying it, I know it means one yet many, but one yet many what? It's talking about, and I want us to reiterate this each time we talk about it being one yet many. Reiterate, it's talking about being one with all the kingdoms, the vegetative, the mineral, what's the other one? It's four. Spirit, just spiritual.
Animalistic, vegetation, mineralistic.
Mankind.
Animal. The animal kingdom, the vegetative kingdom, the mineral kingdom, and the spiritual. We are one with all, meaning that we are that. All of that exists in us and because of us. That's what that one yet many of the one is talking about. It's not just talking about one with humanity, it's one with everything. And the balance in societies was based on understanding of that. And I do not think for a minute, even though I may not have a clear understanding of it at this moment, I don't think for a minute that it was a coincidence that when cheap labor was sought for manufacturing, they went to China, not Africa. I don't think that's coincidental. Because now the Chinese have become so materialistic, that it's not even funny. They're trying to move to a service-based society as opposed to a manufacturing-based society now. So that smacks of materialism. I don't think it was an accident, a coincidence that they did not go to Africa. The idea of racism kept them from going, but I think that was a little bit necessary so that the rank and file, for lack of a better term, the energy would not change. Of course, the self-made generals and the manipulators are materialistic as hell. But the people in the bush, the people who are not drawn into that kind of society, are not that materialistic. And some of them still experience being one with creation. You see, I really don't think that that's a coincidence at all. And you would think that you would have your manufacturing in a country that you can totally control. But they go to China instead of to Africa. And there are those who would argue that it's because most African nations are so unstable. Well, the reason they're unstable is because of what the West does. They don't make guns in Nigeria. So it's destabilized on purpose. And when we start talking about bringing things to balance and realizing that we're one and slowing things down so that people come to a realization of that, that also has to take place in those areas in Africa as well. Not only with bringing to balance the climate itself, but the total atmosphere of thought has to be brought to a place of balance where so shalom becomes an actual reality, and we realize that the idea of peace that surpasses all understanding is a type of peace that we have never experienced as of now. But we are presented with an opportunity to bring that experience to humanity, to everyone. And I think that we've tasted it, as a unit. We've tasted that sense of peace, and the reason I say that is because we are becoming less and less intertwined with this materialism to the extent that we don't allow things to worry us or distract us. And the less we become distracted by these things, the more peace we experience. And peace is simply speaking of staying balanced in the midst of the storm. Isn't it? So, there was something else I was looking for.
While you're looking,
Mm-hmm.
can I read some of the things I found for the
Of course.
messenger
Yes.
called number 9 in this room? Because it's a
Yeah.
9 relates to the vibrations and attributes of teaching, healing, humanitarianism, power, intelligence, discretion, brilliance, compassion, protection, responsibility, inner wisdom and intuition, loyalty, forgiveness, the ability to see clearly, integration, the 3 worlds, physical, intellectual, spiritual, ability to understand, integrity, unity, truth, perfection, dissolves ego attachments, which is what you just said, universal brotherhood, strength of character, selfishness, meaning learning to say no when it's appropriate to say no, that kind of thing. So all of those things. There's more, but those are some biggies. Do not fear lack or loss as new. I didn't see that part.
What?
The repeating 9s indicates that it is time to end a phase or relationship which no longer serves you in a positive way. And so it says, don't fear that. Don't fear that lack of whatever it is that you need to just let go of.
And that, so real.
No, I'm not.
That speaks of where we are.
Yes.
But I'm going to show you. I was reading in Genesis the 3rd chapter. It says, 17th verse, and unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee. When I looked at that, it says, he said unto Adam, and when it says the wife should have been a woman, because it said Esau, but he didn't call Adam Ish. But then when it says eating of the tree, that eating is talking about to devour. But tree, if you look at the root word for tree, it talks about to shut your eyes. So you have chosen to shut your eyes at the behest of the feminine energy. It didn't say she made you do that. You've chosen to do that. You recognize the feminine energy, the womb that you are, the creativity of you. You recognize that you are a creator and you have chosen a different route than I have set for you. You've closed your eyes to everything that I have given you. And I have never seen that route before. So it is time for us to understand that it's talking about closing its eyes to spirit, to what's spiritual, closing its eyes to the unicity of its being, of its essence. Closing its eyes to the tree of life means you have closed your eyes to who Elohim is. You don't even know who you are. And if you look at that in conjunction with the 82nd Psalm, you can see a greater clarity, I think.
But it's a lot easier to see it that way as well, because everything that happened from that point on changed in terms of the Adam's perspective and getting cast out, and up until that point there was that unicity.
with everything.
So guys, I just need clarity. Is it eyes or I?
EYE.
So is it, no, that's what I want
Oh,
clarity on.
okay.
So is it eyes or I?
It's I.
Okay,
It's I.
okay.
And when it talks about the idea of curse, it's talking about the earth consciousness being cursed. And the curse is actually the confusion of it. So where are we? If we are seeing this, the way that we are seeing it, and then we are seeing it for a purpose. Not just so our eye can be open, but also so the eye of humanity can be open. And move beyond these materialistic concepts, these materialistic desires, and be more embracing of that which is spiritual. And this year of 9 is not a year of change at all. It is a year of realization, not of change. Because there is, and here I am on the limb again, there is nothing else to be changed. Everything must be realized now. The change has taken place. Last year was the year 8. 8 is new beginning. The change took place last year. It's time for us to be more embracing of change, of what changed. The realization of it is more important. When a moment ago when we were talking about melanin, I've been looking at melanin since before college, but from a different perspective. And to see and believe and understand that melanin is a physical manifestation of life speaks volumes to where we have been with the concept of melanin. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because we have previously seen melanin simply as pigmentation, influencing pigmentation, but not understanding what it really is. And as I stated earlier, I believe it's the physical manifestation of life, and that is the reason they can't manipulate. That's one of the reasons they don't understand it. Because it becomes what it's supposed to be when it needs to be. So it is a physical representation of I am. You understand?
Yeah.
You want to comment on that next? Since you got that big old book.
I haven't even read it yet, but I get the sense that I might not even need to. But
What book?
yeah,
Oh, melanin.
it's
The myth of melanin.
when you really begin to look at the reality of what reality itself is in terms of how non-physical realms are weaved into physical ones. Melanin is like the interpreter between spirit and physical. So even though physical itself is just a different form of spirit, the presence of melanin is indicative of a very strong connection between this realm and other ones, which is why Africa is the source of all life and all spirituality. And that's why when human consciousness first emerged into physical, I guess I should say descended into the sort of physical reality that we experience now, it was in heavily melanated peoples first. And then as time and space goes on and you sort of evolve or devolve out of the original consciousness that humans were in, then you get all the other skin tones. But the thing is, see, everyone has melanin.
Right.
It doesn't matter what color you are. Everybody has it. And when you're talking about reality, you're not talking about appearances, because appearances are indicative of influence, they're not indicative of potential. Potentially, everyone is the same. And therefore, in an infinite reality, everyone is the same. It just takes them to realize it and enact it. So we talk about melanin. Caucasians have it, Asians have it, everyone has it. But the reason that Black culture produces what it produces is because it is more in tune, in sort of an instinctive way, with how spirit moves and what it does. So that's why everyone over the world loves, just use a fairly current example, why everyone loves hip hop. Because there's something in it that even they don't consciously realize or can explain. There's something in it that is very attractive. And it has to do with the rhythm and the way it resonates with your own spirit. And Africans produce it because you resonate strongest with what spirit is. And so that's why the entire world looks to you, even if they don't realize it consciously, for direction in terms of what are we supposed to do on this planet type of thing. Why are we even here? The reason that you are so persecuted in a lot of, I say you, but I mean it's me too, obviously, but the reason we, and this includes Caucasians and we, the reason we are so persecuted in wherever we are is because there are forces that are aware of the transformative power that you possess, specifically Africans, because of the strength of your in-tune connection or your instinctive, innate connection. And so there are various forces that attempt to keep you under control more than any other group of people, because you represent the greatest threat to them. And that sort of filters down into society, into politics, into religion. All that stuff are sort of, that's the external physical field in which the drama takes place. But the truth is, of course, far more spiritual than all of that stuff, which is why we're here dealing with it. So, one thing I wanted to add as well is that, as I said, all appearances of people possess melanin. And actually, as we were saying earlier, all living things produce it. They also produce DMT, which is a related but a little different topic. So Caucasians have it, Africans have it, etc. So that means when you tap into it, and what it is, you set yourself down the path towards achieving or attaining or becoming or realizing the thing that you actually are in reality. In terms of what your culture produces, the reason Europeans in particular produce culture that is destructive is because, I believe anyway, they are much more easily influenced by destructive or chaotic forces, because they do not have that, to the same degree anyway, that innate need to connect with spirit or light. They are more interested, at least first, in exploring the intellect, I guess you could say, or not so much about listening to their own feelings first. And that's fine. It actually is totally fine. That is a perfectly valid way for consciousness to explore itself, which is exactly what we're all doing. But as I said, because of that, they are more easily influenced at a cultural, societal level by things that tend towards chaos or destruction. And so when Europeans, or rather the consciousness that Europeans have created or engendered themselves, when that begins to reconnect with the spirit or the melanin that is part of them, and when that begins to influence them on a cultural, societal level, well, I guess I should say we will see that happen because that is what is happening. The sort of things that are seeking to prevent that from occurring are their influence is waning by the second, as it has been. It just, increases in speed over time, and things are happening very, very quickly as they have been. But just as Pastor Richard was saying, you can't realize it if it happens too quick. So it needs to slow down so you can catch up with it. And so people are going to realize things, I believe, that have already happened, or in terms of how they'll experience it, they'll recognize something that is already there. They just weren't paying attention to it. And specifically, I believe that has to do with what they believe they are here to do in the world and what they have the ability to do in themselves in terms of how they feel. Like, you don't have to, you can choose to let go of your own egotisticalness. You can choose to do that. And when you do, that opens up something in you that actually allows you to move further into awareness of spirit. But like I said, people are going to realize that they've had that ability and that the results of choosing to do that were always there with them. So that's what I wanted to say.
Any questions? We can see the fight to hold on to the consciousness being expressed, especially through this election. When they did a graft.
I got some more when you finish, sir.
Okay, they did a graft of all of the people who had been on TV last year on the talk shows on Sunday morning. And I think like out of 24 of them, or 16 of them, no, it wasn't 24 because 16 were Republican and 3 were Democrat. So it was 19. So that says that the prevailing influence is coming from those who are trying to hold on to the consciousness that not only separates but also is extremely destructive. And that consciousness is seen in not the man, but his lack of awareness. Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, the ones who are out front are the most destructive in their beliefs. And that destructiveness is there because they are trying to hold on to what they consider to be the traditional norm. Mm-hmm. And what's the traditional norm is suppression. And it's just not suppression of African American. It's suppression of anyone who don't fit into their little mold of wealth, and etc. So what Nick is saying, I can readily see it taking place, but I also see the other side of the coin with us holding things at bay until we get to this place where we are of understanding that we are to, where our responsibility is to bring into balance the whole consciousness of the earth, as opposed to just the consciousness of this room or those who subscribe to some religious doctrine. But the consciousness of everyone, it just seemingly emanates from those with religious doctrines, because they are the ones who've already purposely slowed themselves down to hear what they consider to be spiritual, even though it's not.
So really, they are just in your face representatives of earth consciousness trying to overshadow spiritual consciousness. That's, I mean, you know what we said when we said that, I think several years ago, that the more darkness there is, the more opportunity for light to expose it. And so they really are the epitome of earth consciousness trying to retain that selfishness, that, which is the opposite of where we want to go as a being, as one being, whether that's man or animal, whatever.
Yeah. Well, the uprightness, maintaining the evenness on the truth.
And it's sad that, but not unexpected and not surprising, that so many people are buying into that. It's almost like you know, someone who's following somebody, and you say, forgive them, they know not what they do, because they have no sense of themselves. They just follow someone who speaks, they think, for them.
Yeah, and I think, well, people do that because they're afraid, mostly. Because they're afraid and things are complicated and they don't understand.
Yeah.
But I think that has to, in the same way that somebody like Donald Trump is getting all his supporters, they'll flip to whoever makes the most sense at the and provides them with the most security. And in the current paradigm, as we're in the end of it that we are, that way of thinking is the only thing that makes sense to them based on their level of understanding.
Right.
But the thing that will supersede that is them recognizing something in themselves as that same thing is sort of reflected in society as a whole. And if that didn't make any sense, I apologize. Basically, when they stop being afraid, they'll realize that they are the solution to the problems they wish somebody like Trump would fix.
So perhaps the things getting slower will allow that opportunity for them to see some of that.
Yes,
as well.
I believe and I hope. What I wanted to add about the election in particular is that it's no coincidence that Bernie Sanders, who is Jewish, is up there making the most sense, because Jewish people historically are part of the inheritors of the more ancient African spiritual traditions. So they represent sort of the part of the bridge between the two halves of the brain of the planet. And when those two come together, always the best things are created. Or rather, the solutions to the problems are created.
Any questions? Unless someone has questions or comments, Nick, you have anything else?
Yeah, I'll keep going.
Okay.
So Jewish people, this is myself. Jewish people are the blackest white people. They are. Because not only did they inherit the traditions, they also intermarried and interbred. It sounds so scientific and cold, interbred. They married Africans.
Yeah.
And so they themselves have more melanin than, you know, a group of people who were sort of evolved in more isolation further up north. And so they themselves are more ready on a psychological and cultural level to reintegrate that consciousness back into their collective way of thinking. What was I going to say? So part of the reason that somebody like Adolf Hitler could do what he did is because the forces that sort of he channeled into the earth were extremely not happy with the fact that Jewish people were in the consciousness that they were, in terms of the threat that their consciousness represented to negative, chaotic things. Because you cannot have people coming together and getting over their own ego and treating each other like human beings if you want to maintain a degree of control over the planet for whatever reason. And I know this is starting to sound a little bit science fiction or whatever, but as it says, we are not at war with people. We are something principalities and something. You know what I'm talking about.
That's right.
Yeah, we are not against, yeah.
And like
The Christian boy.
we deal with that is if there was anything in reality that could be called the true enemy, it's not a person, trust me. But that is the realm in which we deal with it. So because that is the level, for lack of a better term, that we are. That's how we make progress, because we still need this experience. When we leave it, we will deal with the problems closer to the source, if that makes sense. Anyway, I hope that was helpful.
Well, it's not so difficult to embrace if we can wrap our mind around this is the reality that we created, not the reality that is, that this is an illusion. I think last week, one of the things I talked about was the water. The body is a majority of water. And like 96%, 4% mineral. But if you take a bottle of water, put 4% mineral in it, you still see the water. So why you don't see us as water? Because we created this illusion of density. And I think Richard commented in more ways than one, we are dense about who we are. We have become that density that we created in terms of our thoughts. So it's a matter of truly embracing who we are created to be, and in embracing it, recognizing that all that we see with our natural eyes are those things that are those illusions that we have brought into being. And if we don't do that, then when we talk about realizing what has changed and embracing it, we will start looking for physical stuff and get all confused again, you see, as opposed to the spiritual. And if you were to ask me what has changed spiritually that we need to realize more than anything else, I would tell you that the upsurge in racism. You hear Rubio talking about the idea of those who hold to traditional values are considered to be haters. People of hate. In his campaign ad, what is he saying? Those who are traditionally racist. That's exactly what he's saying. When white people talk about holding on to traditions, they are talking about what traditions? What are the traditions? Yeah, look at what the Native Americans said about the Bundy, Alan Bundy in Oregon. You talking about you were here in 1870. Let's talk about who were here before 1870. If you want to talk about who actually owns the land, let's deal with it from that perspective. Right. So you go back to a period of time that's convenient to you. So these kinds of things are changing. All of us recognize something, and some of the pundits have said it. No one could have done in Oregon what they're doing except white people.
Right.
Any Native American, any African, any Muslim, if they were white and Muslim, they'd have got shot.
Yeah.
They better not put on a turban. It's over. He can put a top over his head, but he better not put a turban on.
Yeah.
So what's happening? we are realizing these things are being put in our face. And they're not physical things. These are attitudes. These are principles that have always been in existence. These are principles that have been dealt with constantly. And one of the things the biggest thing that they're angry with Donald Trump about is that he's saying what they're thinking.
Exactly.
That's why they're upset with him.
Yeah.
And the dumbest thing about it is that the people who are following him are the poorest. And what does the guy say? Well, the reason I like it is because he talked like somebody you can have beer with.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Well, what about the principle? What about the policy? You know, I mean,
From his perspective.
yes. But that's it. He is speaking that language. Make America great again. Get the colored man out. Let's round up, as Eisenhower did, Mexicans, and put them out in the desert. Because that's what he did. Yeah, let's do all of these God-forsaken things that happened in the past, so that we can have our country back. Texas is pushing for a constitutional convention, so that the Constitution, one of the articles they want is that that 2/3 of the states can override any Supreme Court ruling.
That's
just one of the articles.
secession.
Yeah.
They want to secede.
I mean, these are the things that you know we are seeing. Look at what happened in Georgia. Governor, no Syrians coming to Georgia. If they do come, they will not get Medicare, Medicaid, foods, none of this stuff they go get. Obama sends a letter. That's fine. They don't have to, but Georgia won't either. What does the governor do? Welcome Syrians. Come on in. You see what I'm talking about? These things are the changes that we're talking about. They're being manifested in subtle ways that we don't see. Now, all the things that I have spoken of in the last few moments about the changes have been seemingly negative. But they are not. They are the green plums on the tree. If you don't see the green plum, you don't know what you need to ripen. This is the unripeness that we need to bring ripeness to. This is the imbalance that we need to deal with. And you can't deal with it if you fight it. You can't deal with it if you talk down to it. You can't deal with it if you get emotionally upset because of what you hear or what's being done. You can't deal with it if you're afraid what's going to happen if a Donald Trump get elected. The same thing that's going to happen if a Hillary Clinton get elected. That's what's going to happen. You know, so you can't get all bent out of shape over those things. We have to see them as opportunities. This is the clay that the Creator is putting in our hands for us to mold into something. This is the rawness of attitudes that we are supposed to bring into the creative fold, so that change can be embraced by all. You understand what I'm saying? These are the things that we need to deal with. See, the expectation seemingly would be, since we are dealing with these spiritual concepts and the spiritual energy and bringing so much light or enlightenment, then you would think that things would be so much better as we think they're better. But better is not better. Better is what we thought was better, what we thought was good, was actually icing that was hiding the burnt cake. Something that you really don't want. You know. But now the icing is off of the cake and we are seeing it. So it's not what we call the good thing that comes as a result of spiritual awareness and enlightenment. Is seeing the darkness that needs to be enlightened that comes as a result of that. It's just the opposite of what we thought it was. And now we got to deal with it. So, anything else? Anyone?
Radio.
Randy?
Yeah, James.
Oh, Joe.
Yeah, James, everybody. I experienced something in terms of the inauguration of our new mayor-elect, Jim Kenney. And I just wanted to share this because I think it relates to that North and South connection. And in the passing of the baton, former mayor, Mr. Nutter, had passed the baton to Jim Kenney. And it was just, again, I don't think a coincidence that I was invited to come. And in that passing of the baton, this particular baton, was something that I really thought was precious from the standpoint of that mantle being passed to Jim, Mayor Kenney. And it was placed in a position where I was that was what I call just left without any awareness how powerful when you talk about the presence of Elohim. And so being there, I actually got the baton, and I wanted to say to Mayor Nutter, here's the baton that was passed to Jim Kenney. And the most important thing is this, that Elohim presence was there. At this summit, in which they were talking about, again, the whole thing about our brother's keeper. But I truly believe that the door is open in the city of Philadelphia, where this, new beginning that we talked about in 2015 and the number 9 in terms of being able to come in and do the kind of things that I know that we've been called to do. And so in the passing of the baton, I wanted to take a picture of that because I know that the opportunity is going to come that we'll be able to share this vision and mission in terms of the North and South connection, but more importantly, those who are listening to be able to appreciate the open door that is given to us to make a difference. Again, Mayor Nutter, I know he's going to take a strong position in terms of looking at a new vision as far as our brother's keepers. And he was saying that it's not so much in terms of just our brother's keepers, but our family keepers. The importance of the femininity being a part of this new vision that the city of Philadelphia has. And so I'm kind of encouraged about, what I'm hearing today, but more importantly, looking at the challenge that's before us as we go into this new year, being able to seize the opportunity to come together in unity, not so much just in terms of, the North and the South as far as Philadelphia and South Carolina, but looking at our experiences where we can see going to the roots of what we need to do and being able to see the opportunities in terms of that vision going forth. I got a call last night, from a person in Philadelphia who talked about what's going on between, what we all are doing, and just in terms of the issue of violence and crime and those type of things. And so there was the mayor from Boston who actually came down, who talked about it, talked about crime and delinquency and what they're doing in Boston. But James, when you talk about the number 8, Eugene Rivers, who's a very instrumental person in terms of the crime and reduced reduction in Boston, is because of his presence in terms of what he's doing in the city of Boston. And they have a particular model that isn't good for the children. And everybody's buying into that if you're in whatever government office or whatever, the question is it good for children? But Eugene grew up at 8th and Diamond. And he implemented, a program, in terms of just being able to do some things to, I think, to connect all of this. So all I'm trying to just really point out is that, I think this is the open door in terms of us being able to look at what we're doing, and we revisit back to the coffee shop. I don't know if you remember the guy Easy that when we went to Camden.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the things that he's doing, where he opened up, a program in Florida. And I told him that again, that, the teachers will be coming up in June. And so I think the timing is right, for us to, be in a position of readiness that our I am present can have its way being able to heal the land. So again, I just wanted to, kind of point out that I think some things are happening in the city of Philadelphia with corruption, a lot of stuff that's going on. But the new mayor, Pastor Richard, and those who live, he's open, and he is a Caucasian. And Mayor Nutt, he was an African American. When we talk about the thing about Brown, I know that Mayor Kennedy is looking at a way where if there's a new spiritual enlightenment to be able to deal with the issue of bringing some healing to the city of Philadelphia. So I just wanted to share, because all that I'm hearing today is kind of having me to appreciate the journey that we're on. And as I said before, there's those who are here, in the city of Philadelphia, even politically, or those who are in government. I think that North and South connection is something that people need to revisit when we talk about the restoration of families, or when we talk about restorative justice. Some opportunities, I believe, are going to be there for us. So I just wanted to, just say what I'm hearing, I think ties into where I'm at, in my walk, in our walk, and hopefully, we'll be able to bring some enlightenment to this situation.
I think you said more than what you said in that we've talked about the logistics of doing what we do in different places. And the logistics of it includes the mayor from Boston and the program in Florida. So that's something to address. And I will say this, that my plans are to be in Philly next week for a meeting. And because of that, I am going to, after I get back, I'll probably meet with the teachers concerning that. But we'll talk about that some more later. I think that we have come to a place of change, and I think that the mayor of Philadelphia is important to note. George noted that only the coalition can end racism. Only, you see what I'm talking about? It doesn't matter which one. If you created a division, now you have to be a part of bringing about the unity. So Abraham called was that Moses to get the new commandments. Okay. Unless there's something else to be added, I'm done.
This is Rania. I just wanted to say, hey, what I heard from the discussion, even as you're talking, revealed more to me about the dream. So I feel like, it's definitely a revelation in terms of what Foundation is doing. So that was pretty much it. Just that I'm encouraged by where things are headed.
Okay. And I do think that it was a vision because you lived it. I mean, you saw it so plain, Dreams are sometimes vague, but that was not vague at all. So, but anyway.
No, there's some work ones I was going to talk about. But I have to do this when you're talking about work becoming less important. But anyway.
Right. Okay. It's about later today, right?
No, I have to do later. I'm up in the mountains right now.
Okay.
So
just give me a call.
I don't know what we're coming today. Okay. All righty.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're done. Anything else? We're done.
What did we talk about?
A lot of stuff.
I can't call it that.
We talked about embracing the change that has occurred.
Okay.